Welcome to the Players Ball Podcast for AT Aliens by AT Aliens. I'm your host, Alex the Great, joined as always by my brother from another, MB, the man to be. Man, we're 2 days off schedule, if you will. Um, but it has been a busy 5 days, 7 days, 5 days, 9 days, 9 days, because we usually post on Monday or we record on Mondays. Um, but last week's episode, we went full Falcons whole time. We did not show any love to the other sports teams here in the A, and the Falcons aren't even active, so we should give them a little love. And I want to start with the Hawks this week. We are climbing the ladder, and we have a rookie. He's drafted first overall, the only first overall pick the Falcons have had since, you know, 1903, before the NBA began. Zachary Ricochet. Now, he's been playing some good ball in the year 2025. He was in consideration for Rookie of the Month in January. He won Rookie of the Month in February. And I mean, I look at the Kia rookie ladder on a regular basis. He had dropped all the way out of the top 10. They really only give recognition to the top five. He has returned to the top five. He's fifth. But he's been playing some good ball, man. So I want to shout him out and ask if you've noticed his growth over the last month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, I definitely have. I think it's awesome. We've complained in the past about how our draft picks just don't see a lot of play in
Mm.
the big club. They seem to go to the G League and then disappear. And the G League is there. It's meant
Kobe
for
Buffkin.
yeah, it's meant to be a developmental league, but I do think there's something to be said about like that sink or swim mentality. You get thrown in and you either grow or you're out of the league.
Hmm.
And I think that's really benefited Zachary Ricochet. It's unfortunate the circumstances, right? Because his play time was increased due to Jalen Johnson's injury, but
Hmm.
I do think in the long run, it's going to benefit the franchise with the amount of experience he's getting, the growth and progression we've seen in his game. I do think if we can figure out how to navigate the cap issues, um, we do have a decent core in Trey, Jalen Johnson, Zachary Ricochet, and Dyson Daniels. Now, we got to build on that. Um, So I mean, it's definitely a reason to have some hope for the future.
Yeah.
I will say above Zachary Ricochet by a couple players in that rookie ladder is none other than the boy you were clamoring for and I was clamoring for, but that would be Zach Edey.
Zach Edey. So he is above him. He's still in the top five. He in the month of January, he was getting rookie of the year looks, right? And I think that has calmed down a bit. I would still love to have old Zach Edey. You know where I stand. Just saw that door open. But Ricochet he's been the man. He's proven that of the he can hang with the top picks, right? It wasn't a super deep or strong draft, but the things that he's shown, the blips, right? I would compare him to Michael Penix Jr. If you can drop a 28-point game shooting 75% from the field, yeah, I mean, you don't even have to do that on a regular basis. You can do half of that on a regular basis. You can be a very, very solid piece for for the Hawks moving forward. I don't want to pivot sports just yet. I know I'm itching. We're itching at the bit.
um,
Um,
I- Not pivoting, but I mean, you brought him up, Michael Penix. Did you see he was at the game?
I did. I did.
I don't know who we were playing. Maybe one of the Pacers games.
It was indeed. Yep. It was one of the Pacers. The second one.
But I saw the clip and I was half expecting him to be wearing a do rag based off of the Bijan comments over the when he was on someone's podcast during the Pro Bowl. Did you hear that clip? Where he
Mm.
or yeah, so Bijan basically said he had never seen Michael Penix without his do rag on. He had multiple. He thought he slept in it. Like he was just kind of clowning him a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, he was like, "We don't even know what's underneath that." Like the speculation was he had to have some like killer waves or something. Uh,
Yeah.
but he was out there showing some love to the Hawks fans. I saw he signed a football and threw it out to the crowd.
I really wish he would have got that ball up to the 200s, man. I was looking for it. I don't want him to throw his arm out, right? But put some heat on that thing. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
did see him stand up, and he got a roaring ovation.
yeah.
People were excited to see him, right? So I don't know that it's the Michael Vick level, right? Is it the Michael Penix experience?
Not yet.
Time will tell. Time will tell. Yeah.
Yeah,
But it was exciting to see. I think Atlanta does a good job with the sports stars supporting one another. It's just, they don't support them on the big stage because Atlanta's only on the national media spotlight when we're in the playoffs. And it's not something we do a whole lot around here.
yeah,
Right. So, it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited for him. I can't say anything more about him or we will pivot, right?
yeah.
Just to the Hawks. They are out of the 10th and ninth spot, out of 8th spot. They've made it into 7th. They do have a ways to catch up to the Pistons, who are in the 6th spot. And obviously, we know the 6th spot would avoid the play in, which we want. We want to avoid the play in. There's a quarter of the season left. Doesn't that seem like a lot?
Yeah.
Right? They played 60 some odd games, 60,
Two.
low 60s. Yeah, 62, 82 games, 75% of the season. So a quarter of the season left. That's more than enough time to catch the Pistons, who are, believe, as of tonight, before the game's finished, they're 5.5 games in front of us.
They've been playing good ball too.
Cade Cunningham, I mean, I've seen him in the running for most improved player. He has been hooping. He caught a nutmeg. He's no Trey Young, but he's doing his thing. He's a big point guard, like a Luca. Very versatile player.
Yeah.
Good for Detroit, right? But I hope we catch him, and honestly, I wouldn't mind running into him. Now we can't do that now with the current standings, but we'd give it to Detroit in 7 games. I'm sure of that. We'd also give it to the Pacers because we won the last 2 games against them. We may have swept them on the season, or 3-1, maybe at least 3-1.
I'm pretty sure we
And they just beat
struggled.
the Bucks last night. So,
Pretty sure we struggled with the Pacers earlier this season. Um,
so we would only play them 4 times. I know we beat them once before this week, and we beat them twice this week.
we
So
did. So you're right. We may have swept them. Maybe I'm thinking of last season where we just could not get over the Pacers.
you
Uh,
gotta throw a sorry team out there, man, like the Hornets. Right? We're playing them tonight. They'll probably win. The Hornets suck. They have no business beating us, with or without Trey. I think he went tonight. He didn't go the last game, but
you
we lose to the worst teams.
you said it before, and it's so true that this team can play with anybody on any given night. We've proven that by beating the Bucks, beating the Cavs, beating playoff finals contending teams. Boston without Trey, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we beat these teams, but we turn around and we lose to the Wizards and the Hornets consistently. So
yeah. We
hopefully,
played without Trey 2 nights ago against Philly. Philly you know, they are maybe the most injury prone team in the league. With why they would go out and get Paul George if you already have a Joel Embiid is psychotic. Like the definition of insanity. Doing the
Yeah.
same thing, expecting different results. That said, we beat them without Trey, and I thought that was a solid win. Dyson Daniel played his butt off. Ricochet had another great outing. So I like all the time that they're getting. I still have questions, man. Like we talked about Quinn numerous times and his lineups. You made the point earlier about Ricochet that it really took, Jalen going down, and then, DeAndre Hunter is still here, Bogey's still here. His run is greatly decreased, and it shouldn't be, but being a number one overall pick, man, you should be getting 20, 25 minutes a game. Just you spend that kind of capital on somebody, they need to play.
Yeah. Well, are you ready?
No, no. So
I'm just checking. Are you ready?
um, another team we can transition. Another team that we didn't show a lot of love to last week were the Braves, and my goodness, I think they say it's he's more day to day now, but Jurgensen Profar
Yeah.
almost went down. I didn't see it, but they said it looked pretty bad, and
He,
that it's good to expect him to be day to day and maybe available for opening day. But we
yeah.
just got this guy, and he gets here and he's bit by the injury bug. That's not good, man.
So we touched on it before. Sean Murphy is going to miss the beginning of the season with a broken rib that he sustained by a hit by
Hmm.
pitch, and he hasn't made an opening day in I don't know how long. He might have actually started last year, game one, and injured his oblique in that game.
Yeah.
Um, but he has been consistently hurt at the start of the season. Last year is the past, but it was a season whittled with injuries. And then, I saw the clip uh, right after it happened, and Jerkson basically goes to dive for a ball, and his arm kind of rolls up underneath him, and he
Mm,
leaves the game, um, wrist, and the fear is, a fracture. The X-rays were
right.
negative, but last year, I believe it was Austin Riley who had a similar situation where the X-ray was negative, but a CT scan showed like I guess micro fractures in the bone. So he was out. He missed the playoffs
Yeah, they
last
shut
year.
him down for the rest of the season, right?
Yes. But they brought Jerkson in. They did a CT and they said that there's no fracture. So he is day to day. He is expected to make it to opening day. It is a dodge bullet at this point. But we need our guys to stay healthy. We know we're not going to see Ronald Acuna Jr. until probably May at the
Mm,
earliest. So our outfield right now really is relying on Jerickson Profar, Michael Harris, and probably Jared Kelnick as the third
Kelnick,
man.
yeah.
But if you lose one of those guys, I don't know who you've got to bring in.
They don't.
Right now, catching wise, we don't have Travis Darno because he was.
Little D's gone. Yeah,
Um,
man. That's what I was gonna bring up.
so you got Chadwick Tromp, who had some run in the big leagues last year when this same situation happened, but you still had Travis Darno as like your mainstay, right? Your guy that could go, you know, 6 out of 7 days for you. Right now,
Mm,
it's a guy. His name is escaping me right now, but he's a prospect, right? He hasn't seen any time at the big leagues. Now they said that he made a huge leap last year. They're really high on him, It was partially why they felt comfortable letting uh, Travis Darno walk. But you're talking about now he's going to be forced to get some major play time where you weren't really expecting that this early in the season.
If you isolate AA's decisions to just the catcher position, I fire him today. Right? You got you got Big Willie, William Contreras, who, is recognized as, if not the top three catcher in our league right now, who we let walk. You let Lil D get out of there, and you keep Sean Murphy because I mean, that was an acquisition, right? You gave away pieces to get him, but it seems like both of those guys would be more valuable than Sean Murphy right now. That man has just not been able to stay on the field, and that's
Yeah,
we say it almost every week. Your best ability is
it,
availability.
it is. And to be fair, when looking at those acquisitions now, I didn't understand the Wilson Contreras or William Contreras. I don't know which brother's which.
William, we had William.
uh I get them confused all the time. But we let him go. I think that was a poor decision, but I do understand the little D and the Sean Murphy thing because the rules changed. A couple years ago, they increased the size of the bases. They made it so that pitchers could only try to pick off a runner two times. If they were unsuccessful on the third, it's automatic. Um, Essentially a steal. You get to advance a base, right?
Hmm.
So stealing has become a much bigger part of the game. And
Yeah,
Travis Darno is not known as a defensive catcher. And Sean Murphy is. And when he first came to the Braves, you saw it. Right. He was throwing people out left and right. Um, he was everything as advertised, and then he got hurt. And then his plays kind of diminished, and the injury bug has kind of hit him, and it's been off and on, and he hasn't been available. And his bat, which started off hot,
there you go.
went ice cold, right? Frigid.
Now that's where Travis Darno excelled. That man's bat could save us. It won several games last year, very important games. So if you have a defensive catcher whose defense is struggling and the offensive catcher is no longer here, that's a recipe for disaster in my eyes. So the player that I think that you were unable to grab their name was Drake Baldwin. I've heard
Yeah,
about Drake
Drake Ball.
Baldwin. He's caught for Chris Sale. What the article I read said he's caught for Chris Sale, and Chris Sale said he's definitely coming on nicely,
Hmm.
right? That he's doing good things, and he can see him. He didn't say this. I'm paraphrasing, but he could see him, getting a couple starts this season.
Well, he's gonna have to, I think, due to Sean Murphy's unavailable nature. But I will say, like, you are right in your assessment. But like we always say, hindsight's 2020. I understand what AA was going for. You had Sean Murphy as an all-star catcher. Um, you had the opportunity to go get him. I understand it. I don't hate the move at the time, but in looking back on what we've gotten in return, it's not what we would have expected. And now we're in a situation that, we could have avoided, if we had just been patient and held on to William Contreras, who is not only an outstanding defensive catcher, but he's an outstanding offensive player as well. He's got both tools.
My name's William Contreras, and I hit dingers.
um
That's unfortunate.
so before we like full on hit the main topic of this evening, I do want to shout out United. They had another game at the Benz. They drew 0-0 with the Red Bull. They are sitting on 4 points out of a possible nine for the year, but they are still unbeaten at home. So that is, good progress. We need to start getting 3 points and doing better on the road, but still have
A lot better on the road.
still have reason to believe that this team is back. And, part of that is this discussion that you and I had recently when talking about the Mavericks and what their front office is doing, and how they've basically said that the name on the jersey means more than the person that wears it. And you and I both vehemently disagree with that assessment that players do matter. And
Mhm.
as fans, you have to give us a reason to get excited. Um, there's this overarching theme, I think, for our teams here in Atlanta, and we'll talk about that soon. Um, but free agency is usually the time to go out and get those players, get those bodies to represent the names on the jersey, and to get fans excited. And it's something that we're going through right now. It just started with the Falcons, but we've experienced it with United recently, and with the Braves recently, and a little further
And the
back.
dream. How about that?
Oh yeah, the Dream went out and spent big. Um,
You know that player that they signed, right?
yeah, Brittany Griner.
Yeah, like it's international superstar, Russian prisoner, a freed woman. She goes by Pops, so you know, I want to respect whatever whatever she want to go by. She's a woman. She's playing the WNBA,
Yeah,
right? But yeah, that was a big splash, right? They went and got Brittany Griner, one of the most well-known
yeah,
female basketball players on the planet.
yeah.
What we doing, man? We're not gonna move on yet. We had it set. Go ahead, jump back in. Go.
So the Braves we were just talking about did not go out and do that, right? You talked about the big splash, so to speak, was Jerks and Profar. Um, Not exactly a household name. He had an outstanding year last year, but it was the best year of his career. It was an anomaly, and we hope that he can repeat that success. But it has me, a lifelong Braves fan, less excited about the season that's about to start than I feel like I should, knowing the pieces that we've had in the past, right? Like, we're not that far removed from a World Series. We have absolute monster young talent in Michael Harris, um, Austin Riley, Ronald
Injured,
Acuna, Ozzy
injured,
All Ozzy Albies.
strong.
You had the Cy Young winner in Chris Sale. You have a up and
Say it.
coming superstar in Spencer Strider.
Injured. I'm just trying to rationalize your feelings. I think that is, and I agree with them. Right. I am skeptical. I know that every player that you just named is fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tops in the league, um, even on the national stage where the national media hates Atlanta. It's natural to be skeptical of the team when they're coming back from injury. We don't even expect to see some of those guys opening day, right? Like Spencer Strider's not there opening day. Ronnie's not there opening day. We're hoping that Profar in his most recent injury is there and active and killing it opening day. Austin Riley should be back, but he was just injured. They shut him down for the remainder of the season. He missed the playoffs, to your point. Um, Hopefully, Matt Olson turns it around and he has an MVP level season like he had 2 years ago. But I think I wouldn't even say pessimism, right? But your realism your expectations, or let's say you meted your expectations for the Braves this season. I think that's completely
Yeah,
fair.
and like
I know that's not
overall,
where you're going, but that's definitely fair to me because that's where I am too.
and it's not just like expectations because my expectations are still high for this team because of all the names we just mentioned, but my excitement level, like my energy going into a new season, like I was so excited about United that I went out and did what I said I wasn't ever gonna do, and I paid the $100 for the Apple MLS subscription, and
Yeah,
I'm watching it, and I don't have that same level of excitement. I don't feel the need. It's not Bally anymore. What is it? It's
FanDuel.
FanDuel Sports. Like I don't feel the need to go out and spend extra dime to watch the Braves every night. And that's
You
something
also
I'm
come on, give the people the real, right? You also have it
I
already.
do. I do have it through family.
Tertiary
Yeah.
sources,
But
right?
if I didn't, like I don't have the same motivation level to go out and get it, right? And
Yeah,
and that has to do with the lack of big name moves, right? The lack of splash, pizzazz, whatever you want to call it. And I did read something today that I find interesting that I was unaware of. There's a group in Nashville called Music City Baseball,
mhm,
and they were formed a few years ago with the goal of expanding to Nashville with an MLB club. Now the organization has some big names helping it with um, just consulting or just advisement level, and then also investment. But you got Kurt Herbstreit, Justin Timberlake, Eddie George, Don Mattingly, Tony La Russa, country music star Luke Combs, Maren Morris. Some big, well-known people surrounding this venture, and they released a hat today with the logo. Their name would be the Nashville Stars. It's an homage to a 1950s Negro League baseball team that existed in Nashville. Um, but to bring this all full circle and Atlanta relevant, the Braves, Ted Turner, really capitalized on TBS and created Braves country, right? Like no matter where you lived in the world, if you had TBS, you could watch the Braves every night. And there are a lot of um, states surrounding Georgia that haven't had MLB teams, right? Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, the Carolinas. All of those local teams have been a big part of Braves country over the years. I've got coworkers that grew up in Alabama, a brother-in-law that's born and raised in Tennessee. I had a coworker from Mississippi. One thing we could all rally around together was our Braves fandom. And I wanted to get your opinion because, you know, me being a lifetime Braves fan with, my energy level towards the club kind of diminishing, um, I could see a world where the Braves are at risk of losing big chunks of what we know today as Braves country because their failures in the front office. And I want your opinion on that.
I'll give two opinions. The first one, Nashville Stars, the homage to the Negro League team. Unless they're giving some kind of royalties to the Negro League team or doing some type of endowment, that just feels wrong. They can't do that. Go with another team name or make sure that you paying homage monetarily because I don't want to just see no Nashville Stars Negro League night. That ain't gonna be enough. You be dropping dollars into the coffers of the Negro League teams or you know uh, inner city baseball programs in their areas. You can't use that name without paying the community for it. I don't think that's cool. I don't know that they're not doing that, so I won't say anything else on it. Hopefully they are. as far as Braves country losing a bit of power, I think that you're absolutely right. Um, Tennessee has a lot of people, man, especially Nashville. Nashville is a booming city these days. Country music has led to, I don't want to call it a revival, right? I don't know that Nashville was ever dead, but there's like music studios, the restaurant scene. There's a booming economy in Nashville. Like people go to Nashville now just to visit. Whereas when I was a kid, I drove through Nashville, 2, 3 times a year, and we stopped at the gas station. That was it.
Do you remember
Um,
freshman year in college? You, me, Theo went up to Nashville, went to the arena to watch our boy Brent Butler play in his first
B-Rock. Yeah.
uh, college basketball game against the University of Tennessee. You remember that? I
I do.
remember
What was the fast food place that we still don't have it here?
Jack in the Box is where we went.
Jack in the Box. Jack in the Crack, Theo used to call it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember like from that time frame, and I mean we're talking about '06, probably spring, no, fall of 2006, maybe spring of '07. And I just
Yeah.
remember going to Nashville and just being unimpressed with the city,
Yeah.
and it's completely changed. Um, I mean, we are talking almost 20 years ago, but
But still, like
yeah,
it's been exponential growth. There's so much money there. Like Atlanta is the chocolate city, Nashville is like the white city, the white equivalent of Atlanta. Because country music. I mean, I'm sure Shabuzi, he might have a house in Nashville, right? But Nashville is the country music capital of the world. Like people around the world go to Nashville.
yeah,
You have all kinds of events there. Like there was a in my industry, in the telecom industry, there's a NALA conference. There's National Lifeline Association, and they formerly were in New Orleans for like a decade. Even they moved to Nashville because Nashville is booming, man. So if Nashville's got some juice. If they want to set up an MLB team, they can do it. So I was looking at what kind of baseball involvement do they have right now? They already have 3 minor league teams. It only makes sense for them to have a major league team here in a very short order. Your original question, does that impact the Braves? Yeah, yeah. Tennessee is in Braves country. Now, I don't think that, you'll get the Carolinas. They will want their own team, and maybe that's an increased impact. Right now, the Carolinas want their own team because Nashville got one, but they ain't Carolina, right? Charlotte's got Banks. It's not growing like Nashville is. It's just not.
no,
Um, but I don't think that those countries then migrate to Nashville, right? You still get to the A in the same amount of time, and if you've been a Braves fan, you're not just gonna change because a neighboring state gets a franchise.
yeah, I just know, the Preds have done extremely well in
Very well.
Nashville. That fan base is rowdy, and I know, you know, we in Atlanta, we get, the excuses all the time that our are that we're a transient city, and that, because of that, people from New York come here with their lifelong love of the
Jets.
Mets or you know, the Yankees, and they never release that. And that
Yankees.
there is some truth there, but I don't think Nashville is full of a bunch of, you know, natural born Nashvillians. It's transient, and people are adopting the pride for the city and the city's teams, where, I feel like we lack a little bit of that here.
I would say Nashville is transient, but more in a regional sense, right? You're not getting New Yorkers, LAites, I mean, some. If you want to take over the country music scene and you used to live in LA, you moving to Nashville, right? But
Absolutely.
from a a Joe's standpoint, you got Joe's from New York moving to Atlanta, Detroit, Chicago, LA, Seattle, even. Atlanta is it's a bigger place to be still than a Nashville. Whereas Nashville, you may have those who have been in Asheville, North Carolina, or Paducah, Kentucky, right? They're moving to Nashville because that is their closest lights, if you can call it that.
Yeah.
Atlanta has multiple industries. I think Nashville still is limited to outside looking in, still limited to country music alone. Like music is a big thing here in Atlanta, but we also have movies. We have some banks. Fintech is huge here, right? There's just a lot more industry that is moving here for that. Nashville is probably approaching. I know their real estate market is crazy. I was talking to somebody about that. So um, they're a little ways off, but I think so my point is because people are moving from more regionally based areas, they would immediately jump on and be star fans, or whatever they want to call their team.
Yeah.
But they are more inclined to do that than say a transplanted Cubs fan.
ATLian.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so all that leads us to the main event, right?